5 minutes past 8 to Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel. Make me smile. It's officially SportsFeva time. Good morning to you, Peter Swampy-Marsh.
Well, an official good morning, and I tell you, one person who's probably not smiling too much this morning, Matty, is one D Warner. A few troubles over in the old dart.
I gave him a spray a couple of weeks ago.
Well, you got the feeling that, especially during this spray that he gave a couple of the journos a few weeks ago, that they knew there was some troubles under the surface here that had been bubbling along, and that it was no coincidence that it was Jave Warner that finally snapped. And I think we're seeing a little bit more of that now with a few strife having a swing. I don't know that it's confirmed that any punches landed, but certainly an altercation, if you'll excuse my air quotes there, was
if he fights like he's batting, he wouldn't have hit too many.
I think that one of the best ones I heard, that he took a swing at Joe Root, but instead there was a thick edge, and some poor patron standing at leg belly behind him caught the punch.
Pretty much.
It's not good things there for D Warner, especially. You don't want him in a team if his head's not right, which it doesn't look like it is, but concerning ahead of the Ashes.
Very much so.
Let alone the Champions Trophy defence, which is now is facing a must-win game against Sri Lanka after the game was washed out against the Kiwis last night.
Yeah, hasn't I guess it's where one-day cricket is at. This is just kind of lost in the mix, isn't it? The Champions Trophy.
It's in a really funny spot. Not only is it a game that's probably not got a lot of following or fire in it anymore, but it's also the poorer cousin to the World Cup, and most people in Australia have one eye on the Ashes already. Yep. So it's almost, you feel like it's a warm-up tournament when really it's supposed to be one of the biggest cricket tournaments in the world, but it does feel a bit flat leading into back-to-back Ashes series.
Yeah, very, very strange. Can't quite work that one out. Of course, another big weekend in sport. Someone we didn't mention it last week, but Roland Garros, the French Open, Rafael Nadal. What a superstar.
Oh, it's hard to find the words. I think that's the first man to ever win a Grand Slam eight times.
Yep.
And I think his record at Roland Garros, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but it's near about 50 wins for just the one loss.
I think it's 60, actually.
Is it?
I think it's 61.
It's just an extraordinary record. I mean, normally players will go through 2 to 3 to even 4 really hard years at a tournament before they even get close to winning through to that kind of record, but to have one loss in his entire career, and I think he's the same age as me, which makes me feel very terrible. It made me want to assess my life, Matty, but it's just outstanding from Rafa, and I just hope his body can hold up. It's been the real killer for him in the last couple of years, that knee. It would be a shame for the world of sport if he were to not be able to reach what he can deliver because his body did break down.
He has only one more Australian Open than you have, so there's not a lot between you. But that's the other thing. When he first came in, a lot of people, he was accused of being a one-trick pony on clay. He was only a clay player, and obviously most effective on the clay, but one of very few players that has a career Grand Slam to his name. So he's won all the Grand Slam. He's won Wimbledon twice. He's won the Australian Open. He's won the US Open twice. So he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. And I think early in it we've seen some great battles, and I think we've just been so spoilt that we had Federer for so long, and then Nadal come along as well. And kind of, I think a lot of his achievements early in those Frenches were overshadowed by Fed. But I think when you look back in the history books, I think Nadal may even be remembered as the better player.
Oh, it's a big call. They're going to be talked about in the same breath, and I'll even throw the Djokovic in there at the moment. The men's tennis game is truly spoiled at the moment. Any of these three players could have come along at different stages of the game and would have absolutely dominated it. To have three of them at the same time is just...
What about poor old David Ferrer? Like, in another era, would have been a great tennis player, and he is a great tennis player, but would have been a multiple Grand Slam champion.
And in the same basket as Andy Murray, he probably would have had 3 or 4 to his name by now. Unfortunately, always in 4th place. And looking at the women's game, another absolutely incredible performance by Serena Williams, who is again just a seasoned campaigner. But gee, she can, when she turns it on, there's no one in the world there that can beat Serena.
No, she is unbelievable player. And again, another one I don't think we'll really appreciate until 5 years or so after she retires, and we'll go, she was that good.
Absolutely.
So, no, well done to them. Now, the other huge news for SportsFeva, virtually our third host, Rupert McCall, comes on every Redcliffe Dolphins home game. Order of Australia.
And long overdue.
Long overdue. I think his regular segments here has kind of pushed him back into the spotlight.
Did they get SportsFeva and can we get that into Buckingham Palace?
Oh, Queen's a massive fan.
Huge fan, is she?
Podcast.
Get her to phone in.
No, loves the podcast. Often. She spoke about that several times. And a big good morning to Lizzie if you are listening. Best of luck for the weekend, Liz. Whatever you may be up to.
What's Liz playing on the weekend?
I should probably go to the races or something, I'd imagine. Royal Ascot.
I can't imagine, and with all due respect to Liz, I don't imagine she's doing too many sports these days.
No, going to the races, Royal Ascot, mate. Loves it, mad for it. So, if you can tip us one, Liz, just text it through and we'll release it on the show a little bit later. Now, Swamp, basketball quickly. Miami Heat
Very quickly.
On the ropes.
I feel really nervous about this series, Matty. I feel really genuinely nervous. These haven't been close losses to the Spurs, and they look very, very good. And after bouncing back so strongly, I thought, here we go. This series will start now. We've stunned each other for a first game. We're going to have a really close battle. And the Spurs just blew us off the court in the last half. It was an absolute shellacking and really concerning, especially the way that they just shut out LeBron James. I think he went 4-21 for the game. So that's what all these teams up until this point haven't been able to do. And when he's going off, you only need one or two of those support casts to do something, and you're in. But when LeBron wasn't firing, there wasn't enough to back it up.
And the Spurs just caught fire from the outside.
Oh, yeah.
Just 3-point city. Unbelievable shooting from the Spurs yesterday. So they're now up 2, and I guess using the home court advantage are up a break, so to speak, to use a tennis reference there. So
very concerning for the Spurs, though. Tony Parker mentioning online overnight that he's had some scans on a possible hamstring tear. So if there were to be any Tony Parker missing from that lineup, that would be a massive.
Oh, he's a huge out, Tony Parker, one of the great underrated players in the NBA, no doubt. And originally they thought may have been gone for the season. Then there was talk it's only a small strain. Now the latest is I'm hearing a tear and most likely will definitely miss the next game, but that could change. But what that'll mean is Australia's favourite son, Paddy Mills, will get some more game time.
Drop the towel, Paddy.
Yep.
You're on.
Yep. He got a run yesterday.
He did.
So looking good, Paddy Mills. Probably un-Australian of you, Swamp, to be cheering against him, but that's fair enough, mate. That's up to you, how you want to live your life. So un-Australian.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the series, and I just hope there's a fight in this, but I don't know. It doesn't sit well in my stomach. I feel like the Spurs have probably have the wood over. They're a very wily, very experiencst team.
Jump across the Spurs. Paddy Mills, the great Tim Duncan.
I will not.
You've already proved you love a bandwagon. Jump on the Spurs, mate.
How is that Kobe jersey that you've got? Is it gathering a bit of dust?
No, Kobe's there.
He's there, just ready to jump.
No, I just got to cheer for Uncle Tim, Uncle Tim Duncan, and a big good morning. He's a big fan of the show as well, Tim Duncan. So there you go. That's all happening. So on the show this morning, though, Swamp, plenty to get through. Like we said, Serafu Fatiaki from the Dolphins, he's coming up shortly. The Big D, he's going to review the Sunshine Coast Gympie Rugby League with his upset result there. How do we go on the tips?
We were dead square last week. We ball tipped the same, remember? So I think
I don't think we got a lot right.
No, we didn't. There were a few upset results, so we'll have to run through all of them. It's proving to be we're starting to get that point in competition where you can really start to draw a few form lines and see where teams might be panning out.
It didn't really help us last week.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Went awful. Dear idea. I'm going to play a song and we'll get Serafu Fatiaki on the phone. 18 minutes past 8 here on 101.5. You're listening to SportsFeva with Matthew and Swampy, and it's time to talk some Redcliffe Dolphin Swampy. We've got a special guest joining us on the line. He's was a new recruit to the Finns this year, up from Penrith. He's been in great form for the Finns, playing in the second row. We introduce Serafu Fatiaki to SportsFeva. Good morning, mate.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
We're really good here this morning. Now, Serafu, before we get too much into this year, for any fans that haven't followed your rugby league career, talk us through to this point, sort of, where have your travels taken you so far?
Well, I'm originally a Penrith junior from down New South Wales, and pretty much just grew up playing footy down there as a kid, and just luckily got through the system, and the opportunity to come up to Redcliffe came about, and I jumped on board.
And it's certainly formed, or at the start of the year, certainly a wonderful combination in the second row there. Have you found it, I suppose, both living and playing on the peninsula?
Yeah, it's been great. Down in Penrith, we just had, the sort of country life and a river. And, sort of to come out here with the beach and to a great club, yeah, it's awesome.
And, of course, no doubt, Big Petro would have been at Penrith when you were in the system there at the Panthers. Zarafu, now it must have been a real thrill to come to Redcliffe and play with Petro in his swan song year as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'll grab any chance to play with Petro again, and just him being around is pretty good for footy. So it's a great opportunity to come up here and play with him again, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you formed, I suppose, one part of a new look, but very impressive back row at the start of the season. Things haven't quite gone to plan for your two teammates alongside you, in Troy Geese and Jake Marquito. A bit of a last man standing there, Sarafu. Unlucky for those two boys throughout the year with their injuries.
Yeah. I suppose they play really hard, so. Especially Troy Geese, he's a defensive sort of player, and he's just really, really unlucky. Yeah.
And speaking of other players that are obviously a big blow for the club to lose Luke Capewell, gets doing the reverse of yourself, going down to Penrith this year. Obviously, it's a big hole in any club when you take away the starting halfback and the reigning player of the year for the comp.
Yeah, Luke's an awesome player, and we sort of would miss him if he left, but I think Maury Kennedy has just stepped in, and he's also a great player, and we just got to look forward and work with Maury and get a combination to hopefully start playing some good footy. And
been a bit unlucky, I guess you could say, in the last couple of weeks. There was 2 weeks ago, grabbed the draw after being 12-0 down, and then had Mackay really on the ropes and just let that victory slip through. Obviously, you feel you guys are getting closer to a win? Yeah, definitely. The last couple of weeks have just been very unlucky for us, and we've sort of been working on trying to get a good start. And unfortunately, now we've got to finish off the games, and we're close. So it should be a good run down to the finals.
Now, of course, this weekend coming up is the game against the Sunshine Coast. Has been a bit of a fiery encounter the last couple of years. Have the boys given you a bit of a rundown of what to expect against the Seagulls?
Not really. I've played them earlier this year before, and we take every game as a game to win. So I'm sure the boys will be fired up to play this week. Now,
the competition itself, Sarafu, is very, very close. There's a pretty even spread right across the table this year. Certainly means that I suppose the rocky patch that the Finns are going through at the moment hasn't completely counted you out of the finals by any means. Is that sort of spurring the boys on, that really you're only 1 or 2 wins away from really back up into finals contention and really threatening? Yeah.
No one's really panicking at the moment. There's still plenty of footy left to play, and I think we got the strike power to beat anyone. And with the comp being so close, we're definitely still in there.
So, Rafa, we really thank you for your time this morning. It's been wonderful to watch you so far this year, and we really look forward to watching you in action in the second half of the Intrust Super Cup. Really appreciate the time this morning, and best of luck against the Sunshine Coast this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Rafa.
Bye.
Sarafu Fariaki, a real star in that Dolphins lineup, who are, we can't shy away from them. They're struggling.
Mm.
Obviously not meeting, expectations to a lot of people before the year, but they've been a bit stiff. They led 20-0 the other day. They they salvaged a draw. I felt in that draw game, if that field goal had gone over, that would have been the real turning point for the year. They're just down on a little bit of self-confidence, and I guess that's what we made the Dolphins team last year so great. They just played with confidence that they were unbeatable, and I just think there's that little bit of self-doubt in the Finns at the moment, and I think they probably got that 20-0 lead and thought they forgot how to win. It's been 5 or so weeks since they've had a victory.
And we were talking about this a few weeks ago, Matt, and I'm certain that John Dixon and his men there won't be looking for any excuses, but that there have been some pretty tough things to roll their way, both in terms of injuries and, of course, the Capewell departure, which is just a massive hole to fill. And Maury Kennedy is an absolutely wonderful player, and he'll do a great job in there, but Capewell being the player of the year last year, it's a really big hole to fill there with Rocky heading to Penrith. So things haven't gone the Finns' way this season, both with injury and player departures and all the rest. So just last week, you watched that first half, and it was back to the Finns that they were at the start of the season. There was some wonderful play being thrown in there, some good defence, and then the second half it sort of all just fell apart again. And like you said, that to me is a team that's down on self-confidence, that conceded 1 or 2 tries and all of a sudden went, oh God, and the floodgates open. Whereas that team last year, had that happened, would have been able to lock down, shut them out, and only stop it at perhaps 2 tries. So you don't get the feeling that they're leagues away. They're just that half a step short at the moment, and a victory is really, a victory or 2 is all these guys are going to need to hopefully really click, because the talent is still in that squad, most definitely.
Yeah, if they can get a roll on, they will still be a force to be reckoned with. But they head up the Bruce Highway to play at Stockland Park this Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Kick-off versus Sunshine Coast Seagulls. Fogs Colts will be playing there, the high-flying Colts team going really well under Brendan Lamb. They'll kick off at 12:30, but the Fogs are at Brendan Park versus South Logan on Saturday at 4:15. So if you're looking for your fix, you've got a couple of options there. Time now for a word from our sponsors. Bang on 8:30 here on SportsFeva on Moreton Bay's own radio station 101.5. Time now to talk some Sunshine Coast and Gympie Rugby League. Joining us on the line, who better to talk Sunshine Coast Gympie Rugby League than the voice
of
Sunshine Coast Gympie Rugby League, the Big D, Darren Robertson. Good morning to you.
Morning, boys. How are we going?
Mate, going very good, but I'd say it's definitely going better than the Snakes A-grade team after last Saturday night. A disappointing result there at the Snake Pit, and you were there, Big D.
Oh, look, it made it even more difficult to battle the cold there on Saturday night to get away with that, to see that result. They were never really in the match. Nambour had control of it right from the word go, and just and put the foot down in the second half, and just outplayed the Snakes. The Snakes were a little ill-disciplined in some parts, but Nambour just played footy. That's all it came down to.
Yeah, very interesting. Of course, Caboolture were going in as hot favourites to that game. What did you make of that Nambour team, Big D? Were they impressive? Do you consider them contenders going forward?
Well, obviously, when you can put 44 points on a team like Caboolture, you can't be understated. Dan Staines, of course, is the coach of Nambour, and a couple of his boys playing there. There's really good cohesion. Plenty of positive talk with the Nambour team too. It didn't matter what happened; it was all positive. There was no negativity about what's happening. Let's just keep our eye on the ball. As is accustomed to Caboolture, they like to put a bit of niggle in there and get things happening. But Nambour just did not respond at all, and just kept playing footy. And I think that was the difference between the two teams.
Nambour, Maroochydore, probably the teams that Caboolture is going to have to look at beating, Big D, to put themselves ahead, and perhaps under your Gympie and your Bribie Island this season, and your Kawana, who look to be the 3 teams to beat. A little bit concerning that Caboolture wasn't able to get the job done there over Nambour, and all of a sudden find themselves sort of only 2 places off the bottom of the ladder quite early in the season, when at the start of the year they really looked the goods.
Look, I saw them play Maroochydore, and they were outplayed for all but the last 20 minutes of that game, and they got away with a 6-point win over Maroochydore after being 14 points behind. Very impressive. They couldn't turn it on against the Warragles or the Sea Eagles, the Bribie Island Sea Eagles, that they got beaten there last week or 2 weeks ago, and then last week it all fell apart for them with Nambour. I think the comeback that they had against Maroochydore was solid footy, and you would think that they were right on track. Slipped away against Bribie, and then whatever, the wheels fell right off on Saturday night. It's not going to be any easier task travelling up to Gympie this Saturday, but it's probably almost at this stage a must-win game to let them know that they're still on track for that top four.
And of course, the Gympie, a couple of the old war horses have made their comeback there. Darren Burns has fronted back up for the Devils, and Adam Starr, as predicted on 101.5, has made a comeback for Gympie as well. So they always add plenty of punch to that Gympie pack.
But look, that's going to be really solid for Gympie, and the benefit that it might do too is it might fatten up their reserve grade, because they're in a lot of trouble in reserve grade. The Gympie, I don't know if you've caught up with any of the scores there, but last week Bribie Island put 76 points on the Gympie reserve grade team, 76-0, and they're languishing near the bottom at the bottom of the table, with a points difference of 260 negative.
Yeah, it's not.
That's tough for Gympie.
It is, and I know it affects every team, but I think Gympie more so than anyone really gets depleted by work commitments, and particularly that reserve grade team does cop a hammering with that. But with these couple of other old heads coming back in the team, hopefully that does strengthen up that Gympie side. Turning attention, Big D, to some of the lower grades there the other night, and everyone wants to tell me how good this under-18s team. Chuck Tomlinson at the start of the year told everyone on the show, get down and watch this team. I've had 4 or 5 people just saying, you've got to see this team in action. They are an all-star under-18s team.
Mate, there's no doubt about it. They are in control right from the word go. Nambour scored a couple of tries towards the end to put a little bit of respectability on the scoreboard. 32-0 it was at the stage. Nambour came back and scored 2 tries. But Caboolture were well in control all the way. They're well driven around the pack by their halfback, a good solid forward pack, but a real killer instinct they've got. And look, they're going to be very, very hard to beat in any team that they play. I mean, it's 5 games for them for 5 wins, and from a coach's point of view, only 41 points put on against them. It's quite an outstanding effort. It's a very, very good football team, and all goes well for the next couple of seasons for Caboolture seniors with the 18s coming through like that.
Big D, just to run through a few of the other results from the weekend. The Gympie Devils, solid win. Actually, not a solid win, a very, very close win over the Bribie Island Sea Eagles, 19-18, just a field goal the difference there to keep the Devils firing along very well. Kawana Dolphins in Brough we trust. Just continue to roll on and be very impressive, defeating the Noosa Pirates 30-14. Of course, 44-14 was the Crushers over the Snakes, and 38-10 were Maroochydore over the Caloundra Sharks. Can anyone stop the Dolphins this year, the Big D?
Look, I think there's enough teams like Maroochydore, Caboolture, Nambour, and Bribie Island, and of course you've got to throw in Gympie only having the one loss thus far, that they're going to put the pressure on Kawana. But you look at last year's results and what's going on here, not a lot's changed for Kawana. They're still rolling forward. I think it's just one of those things that you've got to turn up every week. It's not a matter of there's not any real easy games in this competition, even though Caloundra are languishing a long way behind at the bottom. The rest of the teams are fairly evenly right across the pack, so I think they've just got to stay focused and not worry too much about Kawana, because as we know, anything can happen in a game of footy on the day.
From all reports, the consistency of the Kawana side for the 80 minutes is the thing that makes them so hard to beat. I know there's a lot of coaches going on thinking we can beat this side, we've got the personnel, but they just play a low error rate, and you've got to be on your game for the full 80 minutes, because Kawana always are, and that's what's made them I guess, undefeated for last season and into this season. So very good brand of football that they're playing as well. So they're good to watch. But Big D, we know you're a busy man. We better let you go, mate. And thanks for giving us a review of last week's game. And it's great to hear the voice of Moreton Bay Rugby League, talking rugby league here again on 101.5.
Now, before I go, boys, I just was thinking that maybe Consel's got a great business opportunity. 70% of Queensland is in drought. Perhaps he needs to move the Kilcoy race meeting around to the drought-affected places every time.
It sounds like a good plan. I'll put it to Con when we get him on the phone right here in a minute. Because good on you, Big D. Thanks, mate.
Right, see you, boys.
Cheers, mate.
That's a good point. It always rains whenever poor old Con tries to put on these meetings.
Forget the rain dance, forget the voodoo. Just ask Console to put a race meet on and your garden will be thriving.
We'll quickly run through these tips for the weekend. Swamp, of course, who do you like, Gympie or Caboolture?
Look, I want to stay loyal to Caboolture. No, I'm going to. I think Chuck Tomlinson, if the performance was as Big D said it was, he'll be into those boys and he knows how to fire them up. So I'll tell you what, big opportunity for an upset on the road for the Snakies in Chook, I trust.
Yeah, I've got to drop off, Swamp. I've got to go Gympie too hard.
Look, it's an enormous road trip. Tough to beat Gympie anyway, but let alone Gympie at home on what's bound to be a fresh, if to use the term very lightly, night up at Gympie there. But no, I think with a disappointing performance last week, the Snakes have got enough to fire back.
The Bribie Island Sea Eagles rather take on Noosa at Bribie.
Definitely Bribie there.
Yeah, Bribie are specials.
Unlucky to get done against Gympie last week.
Kawana play the Maroochydore Swans at Kawana.
In Brough, I trust.
Yep, you're on board. I've converted you, haven't I?
Oh.
Caloundra versus Nambour at Shark Park.
Struggling this season, Caloundra. I think I'm going to have to go for the Crushers.
You can only go the form line from last week, Nambour. So what, we got one different, Caboolture and Gympie.
Yes, first game. They'll decide.
We'll know where we're at. We'll know where we're at. Very, very interesting. Time for another word from our sponsors, and we'll talk to Consel how to solve drought.
A roast lunch.
18 minutes to 9 here on 101.5. You're listening to SportsFeva with Matthew and Swampy. Time now to talk to a good friend of the show. It's Consel, local bookmaker and part of the Kilcoy Race Club. Good morning to you, Con.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Peter. How are you this morning?
Mate, we're pretty excited here. We've been waiting for this Kilcoy race day for a while now. We spoke to you about 6 weeks ago, I think it was, when we first spoke, and we knew it was on the horizon, and we're only a couple of days away now, Con. Getting very excited, mate.
And the track's beautiful, mate. We've only had about 44 mils of rain. My wife measured the rain this morning from last night, and yesterday there was only 3 mils there. So the track will be beautiful. We haven't mowed the track for about 4 weeks. It'll be long grass, plenty of grip there for the horses. So we're looking for a great meeting, and the nominations are fantastic.
No, very impressive nominations, Con. I'm looking for that. Of course, acceptances for that will come out at about 10 o'clock today. But other thing we need to make sure is all under control, steak burgers. We've got plenty of steak there ready to go.
Plenty of steak there. I think we've bought half the abattoir. We've got about 46 tables booked in the marquee, so you can imagine how many meals have got to be done through there, and you imagine the crowd that'll be there. It's just they're just famous, the Kilcoy steak sandwich, so they'll be getting them all ready tomorrow.
Con, it was a damp start to the year with the Australia Day races, but still managed to pull a very reasonable crowd considering the terrible weather that rolled through. Given we've got some good weather expected this weekend, and racing is coming back in all sorts of forms through the last 6 months, you must be expecting a pretty bumper crowd out there come Saturday.
Matt, we expect a massive crowd here on Saturday. The phone calls that Jenny has got, the phone calls I've got, the inquiries. We've had bookings now for, 3 months. People booked for 3 months in advance. So I think it'll be a big crowd now, especially the weather today. Look how beautiful it is today, and tomorrow it'll be a drying westerly, People have to bring their jumpers, but I expect a big crowd. And it just shows you, Matt, the confidence that's come back in the country racing, the trials and tribulations we've gone through with the rain and different things, and then the bounce back as the club has, well, that's because of such a strong and enthusiastic committee and community in Kilcoy. But I just think that country racing is starting to boom, and when you get people like Ian and Diane Macaulay sponsoring this race, and your trophy, the Duncan family trophy, and the bonuses for the jockeys and the female jockeys, it just lifts the spirit of the whole industry, I think.
Yeah, we're looking forward. We're going to speak to Ian shortly on the show just about that race he's sponsoring. But I guess the big thumbs up to Kilcoy more than anything is that the quality of trainer that we see have nominated for the race. We've Group 1 trainer Johnny Fitzgerald, of course, the legend of Brisbane racing. He's nominated a couple. Liam Birchley, leading Brisbane trainer, has got a few in. Premiership winning trainer at Toowoomba, Kevin Kemp's nommed a few. Like, they all love Kilcoy racing, Con.
They do, Matt. And, you know, like Kilcoy, the track has been the nursery for so many wonderful jockeys and trainers. And I went through the weights this morning, and the form, boy, oh boy, some of those races, aren't they open? Like that Kilcoy Cup is one of the most open races I've ever seen. There's at least 6 or 7 chances in it, and in each race there's 3, 4, 5 chances in each race. You know, I think the big race, Ian and Di Macaulay's race, that 2-year-old fillies race, gee, there's a couple of good horses in that too.
Yeah, no, it's a real quality race. So I can't wait to get to the action, the Moonee Valley of the North. For anyone that's, you know, you might have been to the races before and enjoy it, get to Kilcoy, you'll love it. You're right on top of the action. Con, anyone that's heading from, you know, the Caboolture area to Kilcoy, tell them how to get to the track.
Just go through town, you go into town, go to the stop sign opposite the swimming pool, which is the road leading out to Nanango, and you go out a couple of kilometres there, and the showground is on the right-hand side, and you can't miss the track. You'll see the track from the road, and you turn in right, and go into the track. Oh. And everyone will be welcome. All families will be welcome. It'll be a fantastic day. It
certainly will be, Con. And what's entry on the day? $15?
Big pardon?
How much is entry to get in on the day?
$15.
$15. That's a bargain for the entertainment you're going to get, for sure.
$15, and you're right on the track. You're right beside the horses. You can nearly touch the horses and the jockeys, and you can say hello to your favourite jockey as you go by, as he goes past. It's a great atmosphere.
No, it certainly is. I can't wait to get out there. Con, we really enjoy it. We'll see you on Saturday, no doubt, and let's hope the rain gods look after us.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Good on you, Con. Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.
Hope your sister was listening, Swamp.
Oh, look, she would have been listening intently. She's got a pen and paper out for a little bit of form, perhaps, but she'll be more into the fashions on the field more than anything else, I would think. So,
very good.
But the weather looking very good for the weekend, Matty. I just had a check. The forecast is fine and cool, but mostly sunny, so no rain predicted in sight. And I'll tell you what, if there isn't any rain, it's going to be an absolutely massive day out there in Kilcoy.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it. Now, we'll play a quick song and be back to talk more sport. It's 8 minutes to 9 here on 101.5. You're listening to SportsFeva with Matthew and Swampy. We just spoke to Con Searle about the Kilcoy races, and we've got another guest involved with the Kilcoy races joining us on the line. It's a big good morning to Ian Macaulay. Morning, Ian. Sorry, I didn't have you turned up there, Ian. Go again. Good morning to you. How are you, mate?
Good, Matthew. Good morning to you.
Yes, mate. Obviously exciting times. Kilcoy races just around the corner, mate. And you've sponsoring a race. So you tell us how you got involved with the Kilcoy Race Club, mate.
Well, we moved down here from Billawheeler a few years ago, and brought with us our racing interests. And more recently, I joined the Kilcoy Race Club as on the committee, and we took it from there.
And what about your horse racing and racehorse involvement, Ian, previous to this? You own a couple, or what's been your background in racing?
I've had racehorses mainly in the country for 30-odd years now. For about the last 15 years, though, we've stepped it up a bit, and I've got horses with Paddy Payne in Victoria. I've got some with Stewie McKinnon at Caloundra, and a few with Benny Mason here at Woodford. So it's really a hobby of mine, and I love it.
Yeah, no, it is a great sport. Now, Ian, you've there's a race. It's a great initiative. It's the Ian and Di McCauley Brisbane Bloodstock Bonus Cutest 2-year-old fillies handicap over 1,200 metres. Tell us about this initiative, Ian.
Well, Di, when she was a local member for Callide, sponsored for many years the Fangirl Cup. And when we came down here, we were looking for something that we could sponsor the local races here. And now that we've got the government supporting country racing and Queensland Racing certainly demonstrating its strong support, we thought we'd try and get Kilcoy on the map somehow as something a bit innovative and different. And talking to the committee and various people around the place, this sort of thing seemed to be attractive. So here we are. We're going to give it a go and see if it works.
Yeah, looking forward to it now. We've got some, for any jockeys riding at Kilcoy, it's a bonanza for them on Saturday, isn't there? There's prizes galore.
Well, we've made it good enough to draw their interest. I mean, it's a significant amount of money for those who partake in the prizes, and they're all looking for a few bob. They're all, none of them are millionaires that do the country circuit. So it just might give them a lift up and something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so great prizes. So there's 500 to the leading female jockey, 500 to the leading male jockey, and a trophy for the overall winner as well, which is all worth winning. Of course, it's based on a 3-2-1 basis throughout the day, 3 for a win, 2 for a second, and 1 for a third.
Yes, that's correct.
And a bit of pressure on yourself and me, Ian. We're the judges. We're doing the scoring, so there's a lot of pressure.
We've got to get our maths right, haven't we?
I don't know. I'll have to bring the abacus. I'll tell you what. Getting later in the day, I might be able to have a beer or two if we've got to do some counting.
That's right. We'll have to leave our beer till about 4 o'clock.
Right, it sounds good. We'll have one together then, Ian. Hopefully it's a fine and sunny day. Can't wait. And thanks again for your support of country racing.
Good, Matthew. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ian.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Ian McCauley there, involved with the Kilcoy Race Club. Swamp, you can just see how that's bringing not only just Kilcoy, like the whole Moreton Bay community. I know Kilcoy isn't particularly not part of the Shire, but we consider Kilcoy one of our own, and yeah, can't wait.
Absolutely, and it'll be a real boost just to the whole town of Kilcoy for that day, especially if there's a big crowd coming in, and it's a real lift right across the whole area.
I've got a text. I'm going to show you it here, Swamp, and you doubted me earlier, but look at this. The Queen likes jam tin in the cup. And you thought she didn't listen. Got the text. There you go, people. If you're heading along to Kilcoy, Lizzie has tipped jam tin. Big fan.
iPhone. Lizzie was the sender.
Lizzie.
I think it was one of Lizzie's aides texting.
QE2, I've got to say. That's in the phone. So, well, there you go. Exclusive tip from the Queen. Jam tin in the cup. So
Paddy Slates is the local.
Has won 2 in a row, then ran second last year. So, yeah, I think he's great. I think he'll go close again. He was unlucky last year. Probably should have gone close. So it'll be a great race, and everyone going along, make sure you bring a present for Pete's sister on the day for her birthday. She'll be there enjoying the day. Should be great. Time's on the wing, Swampy. Huge football though. Speaking of Kilcoy, huge football at Beachmere on the weekend. Yeah, big double header in C grade. Beachmere taking on Kilcoy in the Chonga Cup. Now that's the cup, I believe, in memoriam of a former Beachmere player. Wonderful day there, and of course Biwa taking on Coolum at Beachmere earlier than that. So on Saturday, 1:30 p.m. for Biwa and Coolum, and then followed by 3 p.m. for Beachmere versus Kilcoy in the C grade. There should be a wonderful day. If you can't get to Kilcoy, get to Beachmere. Maybe you could take Sis to the double. Well, the double would be tough with the time. We might have to get the chopper or something to get us from the race club over to Beachmere. It's a bit of a hike. Well, it is a birthday, Swamp. I suppose. Open up the wallet for once in your life, mate, for poor old Sis. Jeez. But that'll be great entertainment there at C grade. Like I said, I love the C grade. It's a real... not big on defence of C grade, but if you like attacking football, good watching footy. Though. It certainly does. So best of luck to all our local teams doing battle. There's the Snakes, the Bribie Island Sea Eagles, of course Beachmere and Kilcoy, the Dolphins. Let's hope the Dolphins can get back on track. They just need that. They need that one win, don't they, just to get them over the line. They're so close. I think
they might need another one more over the Seagulls. They should beat. Now, I don't think they need to win over a team that they should be beating. They need to win over a team that they're about middle of. That win over Mackay would have done it for them.
It would have been, because if they've got Northern Pride coming up after this
game,
game,
to be a massive test.
We've got a terrible record against them.
So look, I think that they need this win over the Sunshine Coast, and if they can grab a win over the Pride, I'll take my hat off and the Finns are back in it, but it's going to be a tough task.
It certainly will be. Thanks to all our guests this morning: Sarafu Fatiaki, the Big D, Darren Robertson, the voice of Moreton Bay Rugby League, Kong Searle, local bookmaker, and from the Kilcoy Race Club, Ian Macaulay. Thanks to you, Swamp.
Always a pleasure.
And stand by now for the national news.